Hey, everybody. So, I know it's been a while since I've done a WTF Cinema, and I'm trying. Here's the problem it's difficult to find the right movie for WTF Cinema, and that's what we're going to talk about right now, is the search I've been on lately. I will do more Tomie films in the future, I'm sure. I haven't watched them to see how horrible they are, but since doing a Tomie movie now means doing a movie with me and my clone, it's a lot more production value. And I kind of want to space those out a bit because there, believe it or not, is an end to the Tomie movies. There aren't an infinite number of them. So recently, I was recommended three different movies for WTF Cinema, and I checked out all three of them, and none of them quite made the cut. So I figured since I put in the time to track down these movies and watch them, I should at least get some content out of them. So we'll talk about them and why they didn't work. Um, the first movie that was recommended to me is a movie called Iron Sky, and I'll probably include a couple of little clips in here. Iron Sky is set in the not too distant future, next Sunday, AD, when astronauts go to the moon, and on the dark side of the moon, they find a secret Nazi base that has been there since the 40s. And then the Nazis invade America from the moon. It's a whole. The problem with Iron Skies is that it is a self-aware, tongue-in-cheek parody. The problem with that kind of movie is for WTF Cinema, all I could do is complain about it's not funny. It's not very good. Right? Any of the ridiculous over the top stuff is part of the nature of the film. It's the same reason I don't review, Sharknado. Yes, it's ridiculous because they want it to be ridiculous. Typically on WTF Cinema, I'm aiming, typically, to tear apart movies that were trying to be good and failed. So Iron Skies was out. Next, I tried Videodrome by David Cronenberg. The last time I reviewed a Cronenberg movie was Naked Lunch. I still get hateful comments for that one. It is probably the most seen episode of WTF Cinema, and everybody hates it. So, of course, I was totally willing to do another one. The problem with Videodrome is, yes, it is full of bizarre Cronenberg visuals. It is. But the plot works. It's weird, but it doesn't have any problems. And the weird visuals are accounted for that one of the major plot points is that the main character is suffering from severe hallucinations as a result of a carrier wave embedded in video. So he watches these video shows, he watches this show, and the carrier wave hidden in the background causes him to have these severe hallucinations, which lets Cronenberg just go nuts. But the thing holds together. Yes, it's an odd movie, but it makes sense within its own context. Generally, what I'm looking for are, we discussed, movies that were trying to be good and failed. What I'm really honing in on, though, is where the writers screw up. Sometimes the filmmaker too, but often it's the writers who leave plot holes, who don't explain themselves, who don't account for what if this, what if that. I look for movies that break their own rules, that fall apart all by themselves when applied to their own internal logic. Right? That's the main thing I'm looking for. Videodrome doesn't do that. Videodrome is fine. It's a decent movie. It's actually fairly entertaining. It is weird. But I can't spend 20 to 40 minutes tearing it apart because there's nothing for me to really get a grip on there. It works. The last movie was the one that came closest. And you never know. Years from now, I may come back and do it. We'll see. And I don't have clips of this one, I'm afraid. I watched it on Netflix, and I'm not going through the effort to pull footage off of Netflix just to throw out the clips here. But it was... It stars Kate Micucci, and I do enjoy Kate Micucci. I really do. She's from Garfunkel and Oates. She's the shorter, odd-looking one, and I love Kate Micucci. It also stars the guy who played Jimmy Steve in the first couple seasons of Shameless, and the guy who plays Kevin on Shameless, which is weird that they got two Shameless actors. The plot is about a young woman whose heart was broken, so she moved across the country and picked up a new career, and she's got this cat and this dog that she adopted right before she moved. And one night, due to magical astrology, the dog and the cat run away from home and become human. And then try to woo her without her knowing who they are. It's called Unleashed. I should point out there are two Unleashed movies. The other one is a Jet Li action film, which is infinitely more popular. So if you're looking for Unleashed, I believe it's 2015, 2016 was the release. And you can find it on Netflix. Unleashed is a weird premise. The biggest... There's two issues I have with Unleashed that made it almost a candidate. One was the villain of the piece, who's barely in the piece, which is fine, doesn't get his comeuppance. Or at least not near as much as he should. But if I want to give it credit, in real life, villains don't typically get their comeuppance as much as they should. So, in this case, the movie about the dog and the cat who become humans dealt with that situation realistically, so I can't really hold that much against it. The other issue that almost made it was the sliding intelligence scale of the animals. Right? The cat is much smarter than the dog. Obviously, because that's how cats are always portrayed. Cats are very smart, dogs are very dumb. Dogs are loyal, cats are independent. That's the stereotype we're going with. So the cat immediately figures out, oh, we're humans now. We have to act like humans, and we have to woo her so that she'll let us live with her. Only one of us can succeed, but, you know, we want to have a home. Except the cat immediately gets a job as a supermodel, and it comes with his own apartment. So underneath his logic is really he loves the girl, but he's a cat, so he can't show that, right? But again, he's able to do this. He gets a career, he comes up with a plan, and he knows he has to pass for human, except occasionally when he's drinking milk, he's lapping at it. Why? Because it's funny. We know he's smart enough to know that's not how humans drink and he has to pass for human, but we're going to have him lap at the milk because it's a funny visual. So there's a lot of that where he's smart until a joke needs him to be stupid. And the dog is the opposite. Dog is dumb. But he's able to get a job as an intern at her computer programming company, her app development company. He's also able to run a morning gym program for some guys out at the park, and apparently finds a place to live. He's dumb, except when it would be easier for the plot for him to be smart. So that's really the biggest issue the movie has, is these sliding intelligence scales, where he'll be smart until we need him not to be, he'll be dumb until we need him not to be. I didn't do Unleashed on WTF Cinema, because honestly it was actually kind of a fun movie. Silly in places, sure, and it's got that sliding intelligence thing, but overall, it was enjoyable, actually. I will probably watch it again with friends sometime. I'm not saying it was great, but it was better than a movie with that premise has any right to be. So, the search is continuing for new WTF cinemas because I don't want this channel just to become about video games. The problem is video games are easier to do videos of. I do an LP. I'm doing an LP of a game I like. It takes time to put it together, but it's there. I'm not searching for the game. I have a list as long as my arm of games I want to do LPs of. Russ and I have the next 5 years of Home on the RNG mapped out. Again, I don't have to look for it. I just have to play it and record it, WTF Cinema requires me to find that special jewel. And Unleashed was on the tipping point, but it lacked one crucial thing that I need. When I'm looking for a WTF Cinema, the perfect WTF Cinema movie is a movie with a gaping plot hole based on its own premise, based on its own internal rules. I want there to be at least one huge plot hole to hang my hat on, and then little issues along the way. That's what I want. And the movie didn't really have one giant plot hole. It had the sliding intelligence scattered throughout, but it would be a pretty weak review, I feel. So, the search continues for a good WTF Cinema standard, so that I can again then get to doing a Tomie film, because I have somehow turned that into my life's work. Also, there might be some travel vlogs coming up at some point. The princess and I are actually getting scuba certified, so that I can go and take tropical scuba vacations, and I'm sure I'll find some way to do some footage from that. And then Russ and I are planning a beach vacation at some point, and then Russ, a young woman named Jess that I don't think has ever showed up on this channel. No, she was the villain in Jeff and Gary Save the World. She was the villain that showed up at the very end. Jess does have a presence on here. She, Russ, and I will be going to Japan at some point, but probably more than a year away. So there will still be content for this channel. And I will get back to doing Storyality. The only reason I've been delaying on that is I'm on the 7th Tekken game, and there are just so many characters. It is so much work to study it all, to script it all, to edit it all. But I will do it. So, the search continues for a good WTF Cinema movie. If you have one you'd like me to take a look at, email me at jeffcentaur@gmail.com. One word, Jeff Centaur. But don't be surprised if your movie doesn't make the cut either, because again, when it comes to WTF Cinema, I'm looking for something very specific to get what I feel is a good video review out of. So, I'm going to keep looking. Don't think I'm not. I'll see you guys around. Thanks for watching.